We have a caller on the phone. I'm sorry, I do not remember your name. Richard. Hello, Richard. Now I do. We have these people in our ears. Richard, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. You have a question for Brenda.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I was involved in a car accident in 2008, and I received like a settlement from the insurance. I live on the Quebec side, first of all, and I'm just wondering if I can claim another accident, because I had one in 2009 also.
Okay. Well, Quebec law can be different than Ontario law, so you have to, you always have to check whether or not what I'm saying applies in Quebec, because they're not necessarily the same. The first thing that I would say if you were an Ontario resident with that accident is 2009 is a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't put the claim in, it may be too late. Again, you want to check if you're in Quebec, but in Ontario, in most situations, you would be out of time if your accident was in 2009, unless you were a child or you didn't realize the extent of your injuries and you can prove that. So that's point number one. But the other aspect of your question is really very interesting. It's whether or not you can claim for two accidents sort of back to back.
What if they were closer? Like on a Tuesday, I got in a collision, and then on Friday it happened again.
Well, I actually know someone, and that happened to them.
Really?
So double accidents are surprisingly common.
Okay.
Not necessarily in the same week, but let's say you have a car accident and while your lawsuit is progressing, you have another car accident. That's extremely common.
Wow.
People are unlucky.
But I was going to say, just a bad year,
yeah,
right?
That's right. Like, I tell everybody, if you come to see me, you're not a lucky person. You're lucky to see us, but you're not lucky in the first place.
Right.
But the law is actually not very generous to people who have second accidents. We've talked on the show before about how there's a $30,000 deductible if you have a personal injury claim and your pain and suffering is worth less than $100,000, which is often the case.
Right.
So if your pain and suffering is worth $99,000, you get $69,000.
Okay.
And the insurance company just gets to keep that as a deductible. That's part of Ontario insurance law. It's very unfair, and it's something that we should all speak out against. But if you have two accidents, the recent case law is that two deductibles will apply, again, if your pain and suffering is worth less than $100,000. So in that case where your pain and suffering is worth $99,000, suddenly you are minus $60,000, so to $39,000.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, these things can be negotiated if you're in a settlement situation, but it is a bit of, well, in my opinion, extremely unfair, especially in this situation. You're not at fault for either of the accidents, right? You're just doing your own thing, and you get hit twice. Double the pain, double the rehab, and double the deductible.
Interesting.
So, to answer the question, can you bring a claim? Yes, you can, but it is going to be complicated.
Wow.
Often people will have a minor second accident, and they'll have a flare-up and then go back to where they were.
Yeah.
In that situation, it's usually not a big deal. You
Okay.
want to make sure you tell your lawyer about it.
Yeah.
I don't like surprises, but that won't necessarily negatively impact your case.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point here about the lines of communication between someone who has a claim, comes to you. You need to know literally everything, right?
Yeah, that's right. So what we ask our clients to do, and if you're my client, remember, we ask for 6-week updates. So every 6 weeks, because you're not in constant contact with your law office,
Right.
whether it's mine or somebody else's, you're just not. But every 6 weeks, or when there's a significant change, we'd like an email or a phone call telling us what's going on.
Okay.
We get calls from the insurance company asking for updates. We don't know when those calls are coming. We like to show that we're on top of it and that we know what's going on.
Well, that you're tracking as well. I just think
Exactly.
that looks good when you're talking in trial or even in pre-trial discussions. Right?
Sure, and it also lets us know if your case is ready to settle, because there's certain things that we look for to say, okay, this person's reached maximum medical recovery, their employment situation is stable, we know if they're going back or not, or at what level. We can tell, once we get the same report a couple of times in a row, we know, okay, maybe we can look at settling this case. But if you don't keep that contact, it's really difficult to sort of manage the case.